Hey, Tony Gaston here, popping in. I want to share with you 5 keys to self-love. Now, in another video, maybe you've heard me talk about the 4 levels of love. That this is just from my mind, the 4 levels of love. And that highest level being self-love. And self-love encompassing love for other people, but also enough love for yourself to set boundaries, to walk away if need be, and everything else that comes with that. So I want you to think about this. Now, the first key is to forgive others. It may be mommy wounds, maybe daddy wounds, ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, ex-husband, ex-wife, ex-best friend, school teacher, coach, anybody. My college coach kicked me off my team in college. So if I refuse to forgive him, then what does that do for my life? How can I move forward? How can I build trust with my son's coaches? How can I work and help them out if I refuse to forgive? If I refuse to forgive an ex-girlfriend who slept with my teammates in college, how would I treat other women in relationships going forward if I refuse to forgive? So you have to forgive others. And as they say, as the quote says, forgiveness is a gift you give yourself, because you let yourself out of the prison of unforgiveness. Because when you refuse to forgive, you're trapped. And you're walking around with this toxic energy inside of you that's just breaking your body down. You're sick all the time. You're upset all the time. You're depressed all the time. You're going through all these unnecessary emotions because you're holding a grudge and you refuse to forgive. It's doing nothing to the person or the people that you're not forgiving. It's only hurting you. So you have to understand, no matter how bad it was, you're only hurting you. So it could have been the worst thing in the world, but you are allowing them to continue to hurt you by not forgiving. You don't have to forget it. You don't have to be friends with them. You don't have to talk to them. You don't have to go back, but you have to turn it over. You got to turn it over to God and say, hey, I'm going to let you handle it. Because as long as you are unforgiving, you're blocking the wrath of God. God cannot and will not do something to someone that you have made yourself the God of repayment over. So vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. So you have to relinquish that. If you don't believe in God, then you might be saying the universe, but God bless you. Wish you the best on that. The second key is forgiving yourself. You have to forgive yourself for the mistakes that you've made, the bad choices you've made. You have to forgive yourself for hurting others, the things you've done. You have to forgive yourself, not that you did anything wrong, but when I say forgive yourself, I mean you have to let go of the blame. Because you may be blaming yourself for some things that happened in your life. And that blame, it keeps you in a mindset of guilt. And guilt cripples you. You can't move forward if you're feeling so much guilt. So you have to remove that guilt so that you can move forward. Now, the third key is to set boundaries. And what I mean by that, so today is Valentine's Day. It's a national holiday. Valentine's for me is every day. I try to make it every day. But being that the nation observes this day as like a day of love, my boundaries will be, I'm only responding to text messages of family on these type of days, unless it's some business that got to get handled, like my kids getting picked up or dropped off or something like that. And I'm gonna text my wife and say, hey, let's not do too much texting today, just to let people know we observing this day of love. You get one day out of the year that the whole country celebrates love and we're in love, let's celebrate this day. And boundaries meaning I don't text people after 7 p.m. or 9 p.m. unless it's important, unless it's emergency, unless I'm doing nothing or I'm all alone, I'm not with family, then okay, I'm doing nothing else. Boundaries meaning I don't text people on Sundays. Set boundaries. Stop being available 11 o'clock at night for non-emergency situations. Stop being available 6 o'clock in the morning. Stop sitting on the phone listening to someone complain for 2 hours. Stop dropping everything and going out of your way to be used by friends or family members like you have no life of your own. Set boundaries. That is a very, very important piece to self-love. And when you do that, now people will start to treat you better. They will treat you the way they see you treat yourself. And that was a quote I said a long time ago that you probably heard on TV shows, and it says, you teach people how to treat you by what you stop, what you allow, and what you reinforce. It's a very, very important lesson that you have to get. And when you get to that place, you start to see a new reverence and respect from others towards you. And you're like, whoa, who am I? You are who you said you are. They are treating you based on the boundaries that you set. So people will text me. If I don't respond, I get back to them later. Hey, I don't text on the weekends. So if you miss me on the weekend, text me Monday through Friday between the hours of 9 and 5. Oh, okay, wow. Then some people will text me at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock just to test my boundaries. It has nothing to do, it's not important, but just to test my boundaries, just to see, oh, let me see if I'm on Tony's weekend text list. Or it may be something that they did, just got on their mind, they want to get it out before they forget it. But if it's not important enough that you'll forget it, for you to remember it when I'm on the text message, then it's not that important. And so that's what you have to realize. And you'll notice a lot of people text you on the off days, Saturday, Sunday, things of that nature. And you may be working from 9 to 5. And so if that's the case, that can't be your hours. Your hours may be, hey, between 5 and 9 p.m., Monday through Thursday, between 5 and 7 p.m. on Friday, or Saturday may be open for you, or Saturday might be off limits if you observe that as your Sabbath day, or Sunday may be off limits. And so you set your boundaries, and when you ignore these text messages and you text people back inside of your window, now they learn your boundaries. So even if you're dating and you starting something new, you shouldn't be on the phone after 10 p.m. Person need to know, hey, from 9 to 10 or 8 to 9 or 8 to 10 is when you can talk. You're not open them late hours where stuff go to getting a little out of hand. You got boundaries. You got to understand that. Now, the fourth key is to set realistic standards. And a lot of people don't like the term realistic, and when we're talking about stuff like this, but this is very important because your standards are your non-negotiables. Your standards they pertain to your deal breakers. So your deal breakers, your non-negotiables determine your standards. Your standards should be different than your preferences. So me being 5'10", a preference would have been a woman who is 5'5", 5'6", or something like that. A preference, because I'm not a super tall man. My wife is like 5'7" 3/4". So that's outside of my preference, but I could compromise on the preference. A preference would have been, this round booty. My wife didn't necessarily have a round booty, but I could compromise on the preference because it has nothing to do with her. Now, a standard is a Christian woman. I'm a Christian man. My wife is a Christian. When I got closer to marriage, I couldn't compromise on a person's faith because my faith is the foundation upon which I build my life. So that is a standard. Another standard is no smoking. I don't smoke. Another standard is no cursing. I don't curse. Another standard is no getting drunk. I don't get drunk. I'm okay with like drinking, having wine or whatever, mimosa, whatever it may be, but not getting belligerent, not being a drunkard, having 3, 4, 5 drinks. And so those are standards because they are attached to my deal breakers, my non-negotiables. And the reason why the standards are different than the preferences is, and that's why I say realistic standards. So if I say, hey, I want a woman that has pink eyes, not or blue eyes. What does blue eyes have to do with character, with personality? Nothing. So that is an unrealistic standard. If I say I want a woman that loves classical music, what does that have to do with anything? Nothing. It's unrealistic. If I say I want a woman with a nice, perfectly shaped round butt, what does that have to do with anything? Because that woman with that perfectly round shaped butt, after a child or two, that butt could look totally different. And it has no bearing on the person's heart, mindset, personality. So it's an unrealistic standard. So in this season of self-love, one thing that a lot of people do, especially singles, is they set unrealistic standards. Oh, the man has to be 6'4". The man has to earn 6 figures. The man has to have a 6-pack. And none of that has anything to do with character, with integrity, with personality. And that's what keeps that person single, are those unrealistic standards. Because that person may be saying, hey, I want a man to make 6 figures, which is $100,000 or more. But yet the man may say, I want a woman who has a perfectly shaped butt. And so now you have this woman who wants a man who makes 6 figures, but she doesn't have a perfect butt, or she doesn't have a 6-pack of abs herself, or she doesn't have a perfect nose. She doesn't have perfect eyes. And so while she's holding on to these unrealistic standards, she's being judged at the same time by unrealistic standards. But when you let go of your unrealistic standards, now you even become more attractive. Your dating pool is enlarged, and now you have more options because you are focused on what really matters and not the things that don't matter. The 5th key would be to work on yourself relentlessly. Work on yourself relentlessly. This is something that 9 out of 10 people fail on, including myself. And even though I'm married, self-love is still the highest level of love, and it's important that I'm working on myself. And what I mean by that is eating better, sleeping better, working out daily or at least 3 times a week, changing my mindset, changing my self-talk, working on myself, changing my personality, getting out of my comfort zone. So evaluating my personality and saying, hey, okay, is this cool to not speak? What should you do? You walk around these people, you're around these people. Should you speak? Should you strike up a conversation? What's more pleasant? So I started to think. So I sit there and I think, and I say, okay, my personality is the type that if I show up at a birthday party for my son's friend, my personality type is to say nothing. Like, speak to the mom and dad, say nothing else. But then when I put the shoe on the other foot and I say, okay, if I have a birthday party for my son and I invite other parents, what would I think about a dad who comes and he shakes the hand of my mom and says, hey, how are you? Chad, I would say to myself, wow, that was really nice of him. Like, that's a very personable guy. Like, he didn't have to do that. Like, he introduced himself and spoke to my mom. Like, man, that's real dope. Like, he must be highly evolved. Like, he must be, And then I think to myself, okay, what would I think about this guy who came to the party? He's super loud. Super, just loud, just over talking, just cracking jokes. I would think, okay, he's doing the most. So now, by evaluating other people, I'm able to find a happy medium. And I say, okay, I would like a guy who came to the party, he introduced himself to everyone he passed, and he stayed out the way. If he saw somebody lifting something, he offered to help. He was helpful, but he wasn't overbearing. He wasn't obnoxious. He wasn't too loud. He didn't curse. He didn't tell obscene jokes. He followed his child around while they were jumping up and down. He took care of his child at this party. Like, he kept an eye on his child. He wasn't trying to hit on the women and flirt with the different women that's at the party. And so from the outside looking in, when you look at other personalities, it helps you learn what you need to work on. All the way down to the body. If I see another dad and he's like just super ripped up, what I say to myself is, he's doing the most. You're doing too much. It's not that necessary to have a 14 pack of abs, to have arms the size of 2 grown men heads. Like, that's not that serious. Now, if I saw a dad and he, just got a little tone to him, a little physique, I'll say, okay, he works out, he takes care of himself. That's a good look. Not trying to be a bodybuilder as a non-professional bodybuilder, walking around looking like a bodybuilder, but not winning any awards or getting any money for it, just doing it out of insecurity so that people look at him like that. So now I could judge and say, okay, where do I want to be? I want to be the semi-fit dad. I don't want to look like I'm doing too much, like I'm cheating on my wife, like I'm taking steroids, but I want to look fit. I want to look fit, like, okay, he put some time in, he's taking care of himself. Just like that. So when you look around, and that's one of the things that a lot of people don't do, is we don't evaluate the behaviors and the attributes of other people. So therefore we can't see ourselves, and we're walking around obnoxious, and we're doing obnoxious stuff. We're saying obnoxious stuff. We're just being, just all the way wrong. Like, we don't think about, okay, what if somebody said this about my child? We don't process that, oh, that would offend me. But we talking about somebody's child during the game, or we yelling at somebody else's child, but we're not thinking about how we would feel. We talking about this child on the other team, but we're not thinking about that we'll be ready to fight if somebody says something about our child. So this is what I mean by working on yourself, really evaluating yourself. It's every now and then I see somebody who's completely crazy in the comments, and I'm like, man, this person is not doing the work. Like, I don't know if they're alone for too long, or just like, what is going on? Like, this cannot be real. And it's for me, it's because of my audience. For me, it's typically women, but I see some crazy stuff, and I'm like, Lord, how? Oh my goodness, this woman never gonna meet a man. Like, my goodness, the amount of emails I'm getting, the stuff that's being said in email, like, this person, like, oh my goodness, the DMs I'm getting, I'm like, oh my goodness, just TMI, just unsolicited advice, just speaking from pain, speaking from just, oh, like, oh my goodness. We have to take the time to evaluate ourselves and look at ourselves from the outside in and do the work. And when you can do that, and you can work on yourself relentlessly, and you find that happy medium to where you're not overboard and you're not underboard, you right there. You riding your wave, and you doing it just right. where you're not too much and you're not too little, but you just right. So I don't do a lot of talking, but if somebody talk to me, I'm talk back to them. I'm smiling, laughing, like, oh, okay. So Tony talks. He just speaks when spoken to. He speaks when it's appropriate. He's not obnoxious. He's not the loud dad that's doing all the yelling and all of this. He just, and so I try to evaluate that. And sometimes I'm too quiet. Sometimes I'm too quiet, and it can make people think, oh, he doesn't like us. He doesn't want to be around us. He's judging us. He thinks he's better than us. He doesn't like white people. People could be thinking whatever. And so I try to do a little something. And this is what I'm asking you to do. So forgive others. Forgive yourself. Set boundaries. Set realistic standards. And work on yourself relentlessly. And stop putting the list in the comments so that people don't have to watch the video. That's another thing you can do in self-love. Stop listing it out in the comments. And take your notes in your notebook. Okay? Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. So, hey, look, happy Valentine's Day. If you celebrate Valentine's Day, another thing I'm going to ask you to do is please do not give us the rant and the spiel in the comments about pagan holidays and what Valentine really mean. We making it mean what we want it to mean. Okay? Thank you. We don't need a history lesson. We all right. It mean love. That's what we making it mean. Walk in love. We don't care what it really mean and Saint Valentine and who that was and who he is and what they did. We making it mean love. Okay? Self-love. All right? And love for others. And for the singles, your course releases today. The singles course on TonyGassinsAcademy.com. And the couples course starts on Thursday. The singles course is videos, pre-recorded videos. The couples course is live Zooms. So that's the difference in the prices as well. The singles course, I'm considering adding a 2-hour Q&A. So you'll get a date and time for that. Lord willing, the schedule allows, but I'm pretty sure we're going to do that this month. So thank you so much. God bless you. We'll talk soon. Oh, and thank you to my patrons. Thank you so much to the people on Patreon. I'm going to put the descriptions to the Academy and the Patreon in the description box. Not the description, the link. So thank you so much. God bless you. We'll talk soon.